So I started December 2015, ultimately just looking for a way to get out of 9 to 5 job. Whenever I missed a family event, like a big thing, that was kind of the last straw for me.
There's this scene with all these, I'm just going to call them schmuck. They're just guys that don't know how to sell anything, right? He holds up a pen and he's like, sell me this pen. And the first guy can't do it. And then he hands it to another guy and the guy's like, write down your name. And the guy's like, I can't. And he's like, it's because you don't have a pen. And then he hands him the pen and he's like, okay, you created demand, right?
But what I realized is I hated doing prep and ship. That was the first thing I decided to outsource, because I knew if I outsourced that, I could put all time into sourcing, then I would enjoy that a lot more.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Gumbe.
Welcome back to the Bois podcast. I'm your host, Logan, joined by my lovely, studly co-host, Formosa McGill. Today, we're also bringing on a special guest, Jimmy Smith at Ask Jimmy Smith. Jimmy, we're super excited to have you here to share your story with everyone. We were talking before, you said that you've been in the game since December of 2015. So definitely bringing, a lot of experience to the table today, and we're excited to talk about your journey.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be on here and to, help as much as I can for people that are listening, and just do whatever we can here. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So if you could kick us off, just kind of talk about your background, how you initially got into this game, and then, give us your backstory.
Okay. First, I love that you call it a game because, obviously a lot of people are like, oh, this is a business. It has to be perfect. But to me, it does feel like a game. Like, it's exciting to go out there and try to find products, whether it's arbitrage or wholesale. But anyway, so I started, December 2015, ultimately just looking for a way to get out of my 9 to 5 job. I was in sales before this. Insurance sales is what I did for businesses. And so I just really hated having a boss, and, I hated having to go into an office every day and make cold calls. As much as I did that for years, it was just something that I really didn't like doing. And ultimately I decided whenever I missed a family event, like a big thing, that was kind of the last straw for me. So at that point, I started seeking out different ways to make money online. And I was actually between trying to wholesale real estate and go through a program on that, or do a program on Amazon and selling on Amazon. And so I decided to go with Amazon, and it's been the thing that I've been focused on for the last 8 years at this point. So it's been pretty good. But over that time, I got into clearance, arbitrage, just flipping products like most people do when they get started. Then I kind of discovered the replens method of selling. I got involved in a group that really taught a little bit more about replens and selling products over and over again that you can buy at full price from a store shelf versus looking for clearance. And so that became the base of my business. And so for the next 6 months to a year, really focused on that. And it ultimately turned into doing over $100,000 per month with replenishable products, just pretty much retail and online arbitrage. And that turned into a course and YouTube channel and all the things that I do today. Over the last couple of years, I've focused a little bit more on wholesale and kind of taking those arbitrage replens and turning them into wholesale and just kind of growing from there. But I still have both going. And ultimately, the wholesale is my main focus. And I like to focus a lot on outsourcing too, because the stuff that we're doing here is more fun for me, even though arbitrage is always fun and wholesale is fun to make money. But doing these trainings and helping other people is kind of more of the passion for me. And so I've outsourced a lot of things, and I'm now focused on this too.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to, you left your job and then you said you were looking at an Amazon course or wholesaling real estate, and you decided to go to the Amazon route. Do you remember what it was about the Amazon route that kind of appealed to you and why you decided to head in this direction?
I think at the time I was living in a more rural area. I grew up in St. Louis, but for the job, the insurance sales, I was like in the middle of Missouri. There wasn't much going on, and I just didn't feel as confident in the real estate side of that area. And so it just would have been too difficult for me to do. Plus, with Amazon, it was for me a lot more of a low-hanging fruit opportunity, less risk up front, and I could go out that week and find something to then buy and sell at the time, a week later, because I was starting with Fulfilled by Merchant. And so that was kind of the process that I wanted to go through. And once I started making those first few sales, it really solidified everything for me, and just kind of focused on Amazon from there on out.
Do you remember how much money you started your business with?
Yeah, it was less than $1,000 for products. Now, I personally invested in a coaching program out of the gate. So I was talking to a real estate coach or an Amazon coach. I went with the Amazon side. But from product standpoint, I started with $1,000. And because I had my other job and it was a good income, I was able to just continue to roll that money over from the business. I didn't need to pull anything out. And that's kind of what I recommend most people do. I would rather see people start with $100 and not ever pull it out for as long as they can wait versus doing $1,000 and then they're taking out money throughout the entire time that they're building their business, and that's just going to kind of dampen their growth.
Yeah, being able to reinvest is definitely going to be able to help catapult your growth. This game, some people advertise it as fast money, but that's really not what it is. It's something where if you consistently reinvest, then over time, that's when you're going to really start to be able to see success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, that's just how it goes. I wish that it was super fast money. It's actually over the last 8 years, it's changed. I have an account that has daily disbursements, right? They don't have that anymore. And so it is an investment into a business model. And there are ways that you can still do e-commerce and get money quicker than that. But ultimately, Amazon has the backing, they have the customers, they have the ability to grow and scale. So for me, it's worth it. If somebody wants to invest in doing a business, start with what they can, reinvest over and over, and then you've got a good platform to grow from there.
Then could you walk us through the transition from retail arbitrage to, you said you're now more focused on wholesale. Did you ever do any online arbitrage, or walk us through that transition over time?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Online arbitrage has always been something that I have done. I think that I actually gravitate towards retail arbitrage the most, just because I liked the immediacy of it, that I could be in a store, find a product, put it in my cart, and go check out, and could send it in that week. And so I liked that. Plus, I like with retail arbitrage the ability to go and find regional products that you can't really find doing as much with online arbitrage. There's ways to do it, but not as easily accessible. I also liked just the ability to get out there and look at everything, and just it was more my speed. However, over time, I did start doing more and more online arbitrage. I would take those retail arbitrage ones and turn them into online arbitrage replens, where I could just order them over and over. So it was just kind of a gradual scaling up. That, okay, I started with retail arbitrage. I've got this product. Now I realize I can order it online. And then what started me with wholesale is I had a product in Walmart that was clearanced. It was a great replen. It went clearanced for me. And I just was like, this thing has made me thousands of dollars over the last, few months. So I looked on the back of the package and I was like, hey, I'm going to reach out to this company. And I did. And they ended up opening a wholesale account for me. This was a few years ago at this point. It doesn't work like that anymore, but it was probably in 2018 or so. And that was just a regular wholesale account that became an exclusive account that turned into $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 months just with that one product. And actually got such a large amount of volume that I ended up having to offshore that to somebody else to handle the volume. And then, I got commissions from every profit dollar that they made. And so it was just, for me, how do we be creative with some of these things? And so what I try to tell people who are starting in arbitrage, trying to get to wholesale, is just start with those products that you are already selling well, that you're already replenishing, because there's opportunity out there to open wholesale accounts and to move into multiple methods of selling on Amazon.
I want to take a quick moment to interrupt the podcast and talk about this video's sponsor, OA Alphas. OA Alphas offers high-quality leads lists to help you grow and scale your online arbitrage business. Whenever I started getting into online arbitrage, leads lists were foundational for helping me understand the OA business and growing my business to its height. OA Alphas allows you to get profitable online arbitrage product leads every single day, Monday through Friday, in exchange for a set monthly fee. If you're looking to grow your online arbitrage business or gain back some of your time or learn more about OA, then I highly recommend you check out the link down below to visit oaalphas.com and start receiving those profitable leads every single day. Thank you, OA Alphas, for sponsoring this episode. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned several times replens and how that's been really important for you. And I think focusing on items that can bring consistency to your business is really important, even if they're not home run products, but products that you can consistently sell over and over again is super important. So could you break down for the audience, how do you identify what is going to be a good replen for your business?
Yeah. So replenishable product for me, it really comes down to a few key factors. Really, it's going to be, can I find this locally or online consistently at that price. So while you may have products that you can buy on clearance or on liquidation or something like that from a store, I don't count that as replenishable because I can't go back and buy it at that same price. And so whenever I find something that is full price that I can buy over and over again, I'm typically wanting to make sure that as I look at the Keepa graph, that it's got a good solid history of sales, that the number of sellers fluctuate regularly, that it's not going up and a ton of sellers are jumping on that listing. And then I also want to make sure that over the last year, that the lowest point that buy box was at is a break even or above for me. Because if I know that the worst case over the last year was that I got my money back out of the product, then I'm willing to test just about anything at that point. As much as I want to have 40% ROI minimums, sometimes if it's 20% ROI, I'm willing to test it just to see how well it does, or to even test it above the buy box to try to make more money, because I know that the worst case over the last year was breaking even. So for me, that's how I try to make those decisions. There's obviously a little bit more that goes into it, but it is truly just a simple model that takes hard work, but it's simple to understand once you get into it and you start learning about the process. So that for me is kind of the overview, I would say, of how to determine what I would test for replen.
Why are you personally willing to risk it being a break even? Like, why would you?
Well, yeah.
risk that if you
So
think
there's
it
a
might
few
break
reasons.
even?
One, if you can see that the Keepa graph is profitable now and that it has been profitable over the last year, however, the lowest point was break even, then to me, it's not really a risk, right? It's like me putting out $10 and then 2 months later, I get my $10 back. Yeah, that's technically I lost some money because it could have been put into other things, but at least I didn't like lose money off of that. And so that's just kind of my baseline of that's the worst case scenario. If this were to happen again after I buy it, I'm getting my money back. It's really not that bad of a deal.
So another question I had going back a bit is you said you flipped over a product that you've been replanning and the wholesale company
Yeah, so it
was
was
on the
actually,
back
oh,
of
sorry.
the like packaging. And you said that, oh no, I was saying that. So my other question on the back end of that is they
No,
don't do that
so that
anymore, or
company in
do
particular was
companies still do
direct to
that?
the brand. So it wasn't a wholesaler or distributor. It was actually a brand direct relationship that I built. It happened to actually be a local company. So that made it easier for me because I actually met with them in person and stuff whenever I was trying to get that exclusive later on down the line. So that was what I used, was I just contacted the company, the brand. But I was saying too that it's a little bit harder to have those types of situations work out because there are so many Amazon sellers trying to reach out for wholesale situations. So to have like the first company you reach out to say yes, it's rare, right? So that's what I was just trying to give that little bit of a warning that it does take more than just one reach out in most cases.
Yeah. So in the wholesale side of your business, what percentage would you say is brand direct versus working with distributors?
It would mainly be working with distributors.
Okay.
My best wholesale accounts are direct because I have that relationship to have an exclusive, or in some cases, semi-exclusive relationship with another seller or two. And so, while the majority of it is going to be distributor relationships, the highest
Yeah.
profitability have been with the brand directs.
Okay. So on those brand directs that you have exclusivity, could you walk us through how you got that? Because I would imagine you don't get it right off the bat. You kind of have to build that relationship. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For me, what it was opening up essentially a regular wholesale account with the brand. So I was able to get brand direct relationships, but not an exclusive with them for much further down the line. Typically, they were regional products. They were things that not every retailer in the country is going to have. They're going to be things that were local, more to my area, and kind of within 2 or 3 states around me. And so that's why I was able to open up just a regular wholesale account with them, because they weren't really policing it that much, and they were smaller on Amazon at the time, so they weren't getting as many people reaching out. Probably doing about $10,000 a month or so for a particular brand on Amazon. Now, after the fact, once I got into the listings, I was able to start selling on those products. Then I started to kind of collect some data and say, all right, well, let's take a look at the Keepa charts. Let's take a look at all of these listings. And I decided to make basically a brand review document that's I think about 10 pages or so. They vary. They can be 8 pages or 15 pages depending on the brand. And then I would reach out to them and say, hey, look, I've been selling this product for the last couple months. I know that you've got this issue. Here are some issues with your listing, and I want to help your brand to really be reflected properly on Amazon. And so I actually do a lot of upfront work if I'm trying to turn a brand wholesale relationship into an exclusive, because I actually put together that whole document. I'll record a video for them and I'll run through that video and send it to them. It's a Loom video that I typically use, that Loom screen record. And so I just discuss with them. I even train them on how to read Keepa charts, because to me, that's an important metric. And they don't understand this stuff usually. And so if you can say, hey, look, I've got this tool that you don't have. It's called Keepa. You can get it if you want. But I've got this tool that shows me the history of sellers. It shows me the pricing. It shows me how well your product has sold in different seasons. And I can see that as more sellers come on, the price starts to degrade, which I know hurts your retail side of your business a little bit. And I know that this causes you headaches. So I want to help you with that. And so that's kind of the approach that I take, in addition to looking at their listings, bullet points, images, etc. So I don't know if that answered your question fully or not, but there's quite a bit that I put into getting an exclusive relationship.
Oh yeah, that's great. And it shows that if you want exclusivity, or really if you want anything in this business and life, in any business, it takes putting in work and it takes time. You didn't build those exclusivity agreements overnight, and you had to put in a lot of work up front. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that answered it perfectly.
And what's cool too, I'll also say this, like, I don't win every one of these that I do, right? So whenever I do them, I have gotten another brand that called me a year after I sent them this video and document. We had some discussions. They called me a year later and said, hey, we can't handle having our own Amazon account anymore. We don't really get it. We want you to just handle it for us. So these things are, just like anything with business, you're planting seeds and hoping that in the future something will happen with them. And, that's one scenario, but it can happen in a lot of different examples. And sometimes you'll just get told no, and that's okay too. It just, for me, that's what I like to do, is put a lot in up front, and hopefully in the future it will come around to help the business.
Yep. You can't be afraid of getting that no. Your answer right now before you ask is already no. Mm-hmm. By asking and going for it, worst case scenario, nothing changes. Best case scenario, you get the yes.
Absolutely.
So you said the outsourcing is something that you like to do a lot as well. So could you, walk us through what your business logistics look like today, and then kind of talk about your outsourcing journey over time?
Okay. Yeah. So from the arbitrage standpoint, it was a few years ago that's really what grew the business to over $100,000 a month. Before outsourcing, I was capped at right under $30,000 a month, because it was all retail arbitrage at the time, a little bit online, but not much. And so what I realized is I hated doing prep and ship. And so that was the first thing I decided to outsource, because I knew if I outsourced that and I could put all time into sourcing, then I would enjoy that a lot more. And it was 2 months after I started outsourcing to a team to do the prep and ship, we went from $30,000 a month to over $70,000 a month. It was very fast, and I don't see a ton of people do that, but it was actually, to me, pretty crazy to see. We got lucky in the fact that we had good employees right out the gate that still are working with us. And that is very rare. That was back in 2018, still with us 5 years later. 5 years. And so from that standpoint, really, I just doubled down on it. I got a warehouse because I didn't want people in my home. And I rented one, or leased one. I was able to get the prep and ship employees in, put a bunch of tables into that warehouse, got another computer, and really invested into the business. And it was still a mess. Like, it was super unorganized. They would come in, all the stuff was just piled on the floor, and they would have to sift through the bags. And, you learn over time that there's better ways of doing things. And so as that process grew, we started to get shelving, and we had a better process for stickers and for getting orders out and all of that. And so I built all those systems from the ground up. I know there's at least over 70 systems that we have in the business, and I think there were at least probably over 100. And the reason I know there's over 70 is because it's something else that I've done in the past with other communities. But ultimately, those systems are something that have also carried over into other businesses that I have, and just in the process of creating systems for the business. So even though maybe how to prep shoes and clothing isn't something that applies to a different business, it is the process of creating that procedure that does. So that has helped me become even more efficient in creating those. So warehouse team, after that, outsourced the sourcing piece, tried to outsource how to actually find new products. And the first person we used didn't like finding new products. She just wanted to shop from a list. And so instead of doing how to source, we started giving her lists to buy our replenishable products from. And so that was her role. Eventually, we started to train other people to source products. And then over time, just added in, VA, a virtual assistant for wholesale, to reach out to brands. I did a lot of that myself up front. And then I connected with another company that would take over some of those wholesale accounts that were getting too big for the things that I wanted to build. I didn't want to build a whole wholesale operation. It was too much for me. So I partnered with them. And so I've brought them different accounts, and they're able to sell those accounts for me and send me a profit split from there. So that was kind of how I outsourced the wholesale portion of things.
And then I know you do content and some consulting and other stuff like that. So could you give us the rundown on everything that you do to kind of help other people in this community?
Yeah. So there's a few different things that I do. I have a lot of different businesses that kind of spawned out of this. First, I have my book. So that came out a couple years ago, and the second edition did. It's called Side Hustle to Full-Time Income. It's always sitting here. So that's what it looks like. It's bright orange. It's got like 200 reviews on Amazon. You can check it out.
I like the cover.
Thank you. So it's basically the replens model of arbitrage. And with that, I did the course before the book. The book was based off the course. And that you can find at my website at Ask Jimmy Smith. You can find out all about selling on Amazon and e-commerce there. I actually purchased an e-commerce training company back in May. And it is the Business Building Legends community, which is all about getting people from 10K per month up to 100K per month. And so that's where I have over 70 systems put into that community. And we've got over 1,000 videos in the community and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of cool stuff there for anybody that's looking to grow and scale on Amazon. Additionally, I have the YouTube channel. And I also own a software company. It's called Replen Dashboard for replenishing inventory for arbitrage and wholesale sellers. And that came from the course that I did in 2019 as well. So it's been kind of just as I get into new things, other things kind of spawn off of that, and I start to bolt them into that strategy. Some of them work better than others. And so, that's constant, trying to manage different business opportunities and different people that I've partnered with. But ultimately, it's been a good journey.
Is your YouTube handle the same as your...
Yeah, it's at Ask Jimmy Smith.
That handle right there. And is that content also based off of the book and the...
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, the point of the YouTube channel actually was started because I did the course and I get so many questions from the course. And I was just like, I'm just going to make a video to answer these questions. And when people ask me the same thing, I can send them to the video. Mm-hmm. And then over time, I like it. And so I continue to make 2 videos a week for over a year. I've got, I think, almost 300 videos up there now. And so I cover things from replens and arbitrage to Keepa information, to wholesale, to even some private label and branded bundle things. But typically those would be more interviews. So I've done a bunch of different things, specifically software reviews. Also, I do a lot of software reviews like repricers. And so, that's where I would know from Dylan with Aura and, Profit Protector Pro, Be Cool, etc. So I use the YouTube channel in that way. I think, moving forward, I've got a lot of very niche content on YouTube. Like, hey, I'm answering this question, or Amazon had a fee update, so I'm going to spend an hour going through these new fees that just came out. And I think moving forward, I'm going to probably try to do some more broad content because I've answered so many questions that I start to run out of things to talk about. And so I'm going to try to do some more general content to hopefully get more of an audience into the community too. But yeah.
Did you think that your videos that you created when you were doing these wholesale, like I'll call them pitches, do you think that helped you?
Probably.
When you're creating these
because that all would have started before the YouTube channel. And so, I think that helped me get used to it. Initially, I didn't put my face on those videos because I didn't, that's kind of an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people. And for me, it was just, I'm just going to get on here. I'm going to show them this document that I'm also sending them because I wanted to give them like a 5-10 minute recap of, hey, here's everything that I'm talking about. So I'm sure that helped me a little bit.
So have you seen the movie?
I saw it years ago, but I don't know it in detail.
Okay. So there's this scene where he's like with all these, I'm just going to call them schmucks. They're just guys that don't know how to sell anything, right? And he holds up a pen and he's like, sell me this pen. And the first guy can't do it. And then he hands it to another guy. And the guy's like, he's holding the pen and he's like, write down your name. And the guy's like, I can't. And he's like, it's because you don't have a pen. And then he hands him the pen and he's like, okay, you created demand, right? I feel like I've heard of this in like interviews, right? Where people go into an interview and then instead of getting interviewed, they almost like take the position of, I'm going to interview you to see if like we're like a good fit. Like, would I fit well with this company? I feel like that's kind of what you did with the wholesale people. And we've interviewed some other people who have done wholesale and gotten into it, but you're the first person who's said that tactic, and it seems like it worked really well, and I'm really impressed by it.
Yeah, I think
Was that like
I just wanted to differentiate myself, and so I've seen that scene before because whenever I sold insurance, that's when that really came up. Was 8 or 9 years ago, I think at this point, almost 10 probably. And so yeah, I wanted to differentiate myself, and I hear the complaints from the people that I work with, the brands that I do have the relationship with. They'll send me the emails from people that are just reaching out to them cold that are like, hey, I do this thing on Amazon. They don't mention one thing about the brand name. And sometimes maybe if they have the brand name, they don't mention anything about the product. And so it's just a bunch of, to me, email blasted garbage that people are sending to these brands, hoping that they just are the first ones to reach out to them, which they're not. I mean, if the brand is good enough to make it on their radar, a dozen or 100 other people have reached out to them. So for me, I wanted to try to differentiate myself in that way. I wasn't trying to create a demand. I was just trying to create a separation between me and the other people that were doing this. And there are merits to just cold blasting thousands of companies and hoping that you get some back. I'm not saying that's a bad way to go about it. But for me, I wanted to be intentional about the companies that I worked with and intentional about what is this process? Like, this process is collaborative. This is something that I want to teach you about Amazon. And if in the future they wanted to have their own Amazon account, then by all means, go for it. I'm glad I've taught you well enough, but hopefully I've done a good enough job that they wouldn't even want to do that, that they're just like, hey, this works great. And so that was kind of my mindset behind it. And I'm a teacher at heart, I think. And I like to talk about this stuff. And I think brands need to be better educated about the companies that they also work with whoever's representing them on Amazon. Because there's a lot of things that they can do wrong too. Like, there are exclusive arrangements with wholesalers, people misusing the transparency program, people misusing different programs that Amazon has that could actually hurt the brand in the future. And so we need to be upfront in how do Amazon's policies apply? What are the data points that we're looking at that we can actually help with them? And for me, how do we differentiate from everybody else?
So we have a section on the podcast called Spitfire, and it's just simple questions. Some of them are yes or no. Some of them like, what's your favorite? And just quick response. Ready? All right. First one. What's your favorite color?
Blue. Yeah.
Awesome. Your favorite social media?
Oh, goodness. I would say Instagram right now.
Your role model?
Jim Cockrum would be somebody that I work with directly. Somebody that would be outside of that would be like Alex Hormozy. I think most people on here would know Alex, but yeah.
Okay. This is a this or that. Do it yourself or outsource it?
I'll outsource it.
RA or wholesale?
I would give different responses. I'm going to say wholesale right now for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And then your favorite sparkling water brand?
Oh, there we go. Does this count? Pellegrino? There we go. Cool.
Yeah, that'll work. All right. And then last question, your dream car?
Lamborghini. Yeah.
Any specific model or just any Lamborghini?
No, just any Lamborghini. I mean, I would take whatever. Tesla is probably the one that I would look at as like, okay, cool. This seems most like something I would drive, but a Lamborghini, I just love everyone that drives past me. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We will link your channel, your socials, and your website down below. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one.
Thank you, everybody.